Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.
Dr. Jeff Crow of the North Carolina Office of Archives and History recently stopped by our studios to share some of the other ways our state is marking the Civil War Sesquicentennial.
Dr. Jeff Crow, welcome back to North Carolina Now.
Thank you.
Now, April marks the 150th anniversary of the Civil War. Now, putting on your historian cap, just the name Civil War brought concern among several as this war was developing. Talk about that situation and how it actually ended up becoming the Civil War.
Well, the conflict's been called a number of different names. It was referred to as a Civil War, certainly at the time of the war itself. Another popular term was War of the Rebellion, and that term was pretty prevalent throughout much of the 19th century. Then as the lost cause ideology sort of took hold in the South, various groups, Confederate veterans and United Daughters of the Confederacy, started calling it the war between the states. And most historians now, though, prefer the term Civil War. And interestingly, North Carolina actually held a referendum on what to call the conflict back around 1912 or so. And the people of North Carolina actually voted to call it the War of the Rebellion. They didn't think war between the states was sufficient to describe it.
Now, as Deputy Secretary of the North Carolina Office of Archives and History, you established the North Carolina Civil War Sesquicentennial Committee. Now, during this 150th anniversary celebration, you have set aside 3 specific themes. Talk about those themes.
The committee was established in 2006, which now is hard to believe was 5 years ago. But we thought we needed to get an early start on planning this event. We knew the centennial commemoration in the 1960s had been a national event, and we felt we had to get a good start on it. We also made a couple of assumptions, one of which was we did not expect that we would get any extra funding for it. So everything we have planned, we've had to do within our own resources. We have not had any special appropriations. We have had a few of our support groups step forward and provide funding for some of our projects and programs, but basically we're doing it with our state appropriations. And so we established an internal committee within our Department of Cultural Resources, and we also appointed an advisory panel of scholars from various institutions, mostly within North Carolina, at many of our major universities, who've helped in getting us started and getting us in the right direction. And early on, the committee decided to concentrate on 3 themes: sacrifice, memory, and freedom. And those are pretty easily described. Sacrifice, we know that North Carolina has always taken great pride in the fact that it provided more troops and had more deaths than any other single southern state in the Civil War. Memory, which is the first topic we're considering for a symposium we're holding at the North Carolina Museum of History on May 20th, just a little over a month from now. And that's because the memories of the Civil War are so profound and have had such a deep influence on Southern culture, on its literature, and on its people that we thought this was a very rich subject for us to consider. And then freedom, of course, is what the ultimate outcome of the Civil War was, which was the emancipation of African Americans.
And of course, North Carolina, as you mentioned, had a rich history in relationship to the Civil War. If you could choose events that took place in the Civil War involving North Carolina, a few of the significant ones, which ones would you choose?
Well, that's a very big question, and that's the kind of debate that historians would love to have. I guess the easiest way to start would be to look at some of the major battles, especially Fort Fisher, which is outside Wilmington. This protected the so-called lifeline of the Confederacy, and the Wilmington-Weldon Railroad was running north from Wilmington to Virginia, and that's where a lot of the supplies for Lee's Army in Northern Virginia was getting its sustenance. So Fort Fisher was very critical to protecting that port. There were blockade runners that were running in and out of the port as well. And it did not fall until very late in the war. Finally, in January 1865, Fort Fisher fell. So that's one of our state historic sites. So that's and our most popular state historic site. We have more visitation there than anywhere else in the state. The other battle that people point to, the largest land battle that ever occurred in North Carolina, was the Battle of Bentonville, which was also in 1865, March of 1865. And that's when Joseph Johnston, the Confederate commander, tried to block General William T. Sherman's march through the Carolinas. And so that was a very significant battle. So those are the types of occasions that people look to, I think, when they think about the Civil War. But another place we might look at is Bennett Place, another state historic site, which is in Durham. And that's where the largest surrender occurred after the war. And again, we're talking about General Sherman and Johnston who met there, and that's another of our state historic sites. So those are significant places, but there are significant other events going on. For instance, North Carolina had a surprisingly large Union sentiment. There were many North Carolinians who were opposed to the Civil War, and that grew stronger as the war ground on. And so when Zeb Vance, for example, ran for governor in 1864, he had to fight off his re-election, actually. He had to fight off a very strong Unionist bloc within the state. He won pretty handily, but nonetheless, those Union sentiments were persistent throughout the war.
Touching on what you said earlier, the Civil War did bring out heated discussions, debates, not only, say, involving African Americans, but brother against brother. In your acknowledgement of the Sesquicentennial, what will be some of the things that you'll be doing to try and give people, say, a greater understanding behind what was going on with the Civil War?
Well, we have over 200 events planned between now and 2015 throughout the state, primarily at our state historic sites and our history museums. So there will be exhibits and various reenactments that go on throughout this period that we commemorate the Civil War. And all aspects of the war are going to be told. We're not concentrating just on one piece of the history of the Civil War. For instance, some of our state historic sites, which interpret African American history, will be talking about enslaved populations and how they reacted to the war. North Carolina actually had 4 regiments of U.S. colored troops formed here. And so when the Union troops first invaded coastal North Carolina and occupied major cities such as New Bern, slaves ran to those areas knowing that they could get their freedom there.
And of course, if people want to find out more about the events acknowledging the 150th anniversary of the Civil War, where can they go?
Well, the best place to go is nccivilwar150.com, which is our official website in the Department of Cultural Resources. It has many wonderful essays already that are posted there, lots of information, calendar of events. Our state archives has done some genealogical research. Some of the archivists themselves have written short essays about their Civil War ancestors. So there are many ways that people can learn more about what we're doing at the department.
Dr. Jeff Crow, Deputy Secretary of the North Carolina Office of Archives and History, thank you so very much for stopping by and sharing your insights with us.
Thank you.
Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.